Thanks for stopping in at Down the Road Show. I'm extremely excited for our next guest today. He's worked with Jim Henson, but I'm extremely excited to talk to him today about Kidding on Showtime with Jim Carrey. If you're not watching Kidding, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to get over there and watch it now. He is the Mr. Rogers for adults in today's modern, crazy 2020 era. Welcome to the show, Dan Garza. How you doing today, Dan?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I have all kinds of health issues, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull off doing this podcast today. So I'm glad I woke up on the right side of bed.
That's good. Good. Yeah. Sometimes it's a crapshoot, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. As a puppeteer, you one of the common things you have is it's either your shoulder that's screwed up or it's your back, or so being able to. So you just you have to look out for that. And then now with everyone coughing and sneezing and all that other jazz, it's just another layer of okay. Let's see what obstacles I'm going to have to jump over today.
Yeah, well, at least if the puppets are coughing in each other's faces, then that's less germs being spread right there.
You'd be surprised how close we are. There's a whole lot of spooning going on.
And that's true because you're only seeing from here up with the puppets. So like you bring up valid points about, shoulders, neck, back injuries or pains because of the weird positions you as puppeteers have to put yourselves in just to get that kind of stuff done. Talk a little more about that.
Sure. Yeah, it's weird because what you see on screen sometimes is this happy-go-lucky character, but you're stuck in basically a glorified coffin at times with your hand sticking out of a hole in a wooden box, or you're shoved under a couch or behind a set of chairs or whatever it might be, with nothing to comfort you except for the fact that you're on a furniture pad and somebody's like, "You're doing a great job, man." So yeah, you have to really be flexible, both figuratively and literally. And I've got the body shape of a barrel, man. So I'm not a huge flexibility guy, but I make the scenes work.
Well, and it's because after the new Dark Crystal series came out, which was amazing, I had to watch the making of it that they put on Netflix, and that I'm not industry stupid. I've done a lot of things, but that opened my eyes to puppetry and the way they had to build the sets for that to get the action and flow to work. It's a completely different way of production that most people probably don't realize.
Yeah. That goes back to the the Jim Henson days where all sets were built elevated so that it's comfort and mobility for the puppeteers. What a lot of folks don't realize is that there's 3 feet, 4 feet of space that we have to work with to be on the same level as a normal person. So all of these sets are built in a way that accommodates for that. The Dark Crystal shoot, I had pals who worked on it and were in England, where they shot in London and thereabouts for the greater part of 11 months. And so you're watching the show happen, and it's easy to dismiss things. I mean, I worked on Happy Time Murders as well.
Oh, that was fun. That was a good show.
It was
that was a good movie.
It wasn't everyone's cup of tea.
No, and you know what? And I'll be honest with you. I wanted it to be better and more vulgar than it was. It wasn't vulgar enough for me for what I was expecting it to be. That was kind of the disappointing part for me. I was like, oh, this is going to be really raunchy, but it was just anyway. Then some of the jokes fell flat, and that's the writing. That has nothing to do with puppeteers.
Well, the thing is that once you hand over a movie to a studio, a lot of times they'll put it in front of a test group, and if they're not getting laughs every so often, then they just edit the hell out of it. So the same movie that Brian perhaps wanted to make may not be the same movie that was on screen.
Yeah, so, which is typical. I've been cut out of everything I've done, so yeah.
Yeah, the business is that way, and it's you just have to deal with it. I mean, there's scenes that we shot that we spent an entire day on and trying to figure it out, and the camera moves and everything that goes into it, and it ends up being uh, you know 10 seconds on a screen in a hospital in the background. So I mean, you do pour your heart into everything you do, with the hopes that, okay, it's this is for the sake of the craft, and I'm being true to what I'm doing. So yeah, I mean, episode if your viewers haven't seen it, episode 205, it's season 2, episode 5, which is called episode 3101, in Kidding, was all puppets basically. And we had Jim Carrey, for those of you who don't know, Jim Carrey, Judy Greer, Catherine Keener, and Ariana Grande showed up as a guest star in this episode, but it was all puppets. And all of the sets, because it's Mr. Pickle's Puppet Time. It's supposed to be a show that's happening in a part of the country that basically, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, isn't like industry. So all of the sets are there. None of them are raised. So when you see a scene, just imagine a bunch of puppeteers on what we call Ozarounds. They're basically glorified like creepers that mechanics would use to go under cars and stuff.
Oh, uh-huh.
So we use those. We attach monitors onto them so that we can see what's going on. We have our microphones here up in front of our faces, and we basically block things out, and we try to stay as low as possible. So some scenes we're hiding behind different appendages, bushes and houses and whatever we can. And when we can't, then we have to throw on the awesome superhero blue or green
The blue green screen
pieces.
outfit, yeah.
Oh man,
The unitard.
you know what? As a robust man,
I was about to say, I
I
need photos of this.
I have a couple I'll send you. They're not cheeky, but they certainly aren't flattering. Um, but as a very robust man on set, you try to. They say that black is slimming, but if you look at a black circle, it's not any thinner than a white circle is. Um, so that overall shape really keeps its shape, especially when you're stuck in this suit. But they key us out, and there's a shot in episode 2 of season 2 where Ennui is running away, and he's yelling "Au revoir, cocksucker!" and he's running. It took 3 puppeteers to do that shot.
Oh, wow.
So I'm controlling the head, body, and voice. Another puppeteer, one of the so the guys that built this, they run a company called Swazzle, and they're twin brothers. It's Sean and Patrick Johnson, or Patrick and Sean Johnson, depending on who you talk to. And so one of them was doing the hands, and one of them was doing his feet. And so in order to make him run, it takes a village to make that happen. And then they key us out later on, so that it looks like he's a sentient being running away.
How many of the puppets do you actually voice for the
I
show?
don't. So I primarily voice Ennui, who's the French baguette. He's back here behind me. One of the cutouts they gave me. The Every once in a while you'll be called to do a voice just sporadically, and in the ice skating thing they needed me to do a character, so I did a little bit of the oops. So the oops is basically, depending on the entire season, you have Jim doing him at one point, me doing him at another point, and then in season 2 you have Greg Ballora doing his character and voice. So yeah.
That Tara Lipinski episode killed me. Oh, how much fun are celebrity guests having with this show?
Oh man, you know what? I was there when Stacy Keach showed up, and I geeked out, man. I was watching him work, and the man is a consummate professional. Not saying that anyone else on the show isn't, but this guy had, he had his lines, he had the temperament, and he was doing it like a person who's been doing it for decades upon decades. Ever since ever since I was an itch, this man has been doing his thing, and beautifully. And so being able to talk to him afterwards and everything was a real treat.
Remind
Uh,
everyone what they would actually recognize him from, though.
okay, so Stacy Keach, if you think of old Mike Hammer episodes, he was this gumshoe detective. He's been on. If you look up his IMDb, anything that he's kind of like the American Michael Caine. Anything that you've seen, or that your grandparents were watching, or that your parents may have been watching, uh, Stacy Keach was probably on it. Most recently, I think he was Chris Titus's dad on Titus. So
That
so he was,
Titus
yeah,
was a great show.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And now that I'm looking at his IMDb, yeah, like he's just been in all kinds of things. Like
Yeah,
he's a quintessential character actor for
absolutely.
sure. Yeah, and and like I don't know, working because of Kidding and the way it's just so out there. Like, does it give these actors a little more permission to step out of their normal comfort zone?
I think so. I think so. I got to do a scene with Louis Lombardi, who was on. He was on Sopranos. He was on Entourage. He's been 24. He's been on a bunch of stuff, and he's this big burly guy, right? And he does his thing, and we're doing we're doing the scene in the sandwich shop, and he wheels in. And he goes, "It's the best," and he grabs Ennui and he dunks him in au jus, right? And when we were shooting that, when we were shooting the actual dunking, that was a stunt Ennui. And I turned to Dave Holstein, the show creator, showrunner, and I said, "Man, what can I do, like waterboarding sounds? Because it's." He says, "Well, give it a shot, man, and if it makes sense, we'll keep it." And it wasn't in the final cut, but yeah, it was on week going with every dunk, which was a lot of fun. And Louis he's just a wonderful guy, really really sweet man. But yeah, it was cool. I'll send you a picture, or it may be on my on my, I'm pretty sure it's on Twitter, where Michel Gondry, one of our directors, director of Eternal Sunshine and Science of Sleep, and yeah, he's absolutely wonderful to work with.
So many good movies. Oh.
And he wants to do everything practically, which is beautiful. It's challenging and it takes time to set up, but once those dominoes start falling and you see where things are going, it's pretty outstanding. I'm under this table, this makeshift table, in on the Sony lot that they converted into this sandwich hut, and I'm trying to get Ennui right and positioned, and his hands are on the table, uh, and then Michel comes over and he says, then look, and he shows me on his phone. He had taken a picture of Ennui, the table, and then it drops down to my kicks sticking out of the bottom of the table, so it looks like Ennui
Has
has these
giant feet.
oversized feet. Yeah, it's a really great photo. Uh, but yeah, it certainly gives actors an opportunity to do something outside of what everyone expects them to do. Everyone expects Jim to be the Mask, or to be Ace Ventura, or whatever characters he has concretized in his career. And most recently, Dr. Oh God, everyone's gonna hit me on it. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name?
I'm brain
Uh, he,
farting on it
he,
too.
he ends up being Dr. Eggman. But I just went to go see Sonic, and again, Jim's range. He is as funny as he is tragic in his performances.
I still stand by Majestic. I love that movie.
It is such a great, that movie is such a great testament to an actor opening up and putting his entire heart into not only a film, but dissecting, and as performers we have to do this. We take and we give a little bit of it in this scene, and a little bit more in this, and a little bit, so it becomes over the course of an hour and a half that you're building a relationship with this character, or this individual on screen. They become real and tangible because there is so much humanity woven into it. A lack of doing that is, for lack of a better term, why the hell are we trying if you're not being truthful with it? And even in comedy, especially in comedy, there's the truth of it. I was watching a roundtable of it was Adam Sandler, Tom Hanks, Robert De Niro, a bunch of really great actors at this roundtable, and they were talking about laughing on screen. And it's
Mm.
hard to get a genuine laugh on screen because it's the moment, and that's the thing. You have to be in that moment.
And how do you
Um,
capture it genuinely?
right, absolutely. When we did episode 3101, and I read the script that Joey Mazzarino, who is he wrote on Sesame. He was on Sesame for 25 years. He was one of the head writers on it, and just an amazing guy, just a beautiful man. He gave me this gift of being able to portray ennui in this situation. And as we were developing what was going on, in talking to Dave and Michelle and Jim, I said, guys, from this point, from the start to about this point, it's got to be, yay, it's a puppet show, yay! And then from this point on, not to give anything away, but from this point on, this is real for Ennui. It's life-changing for him. And if I do anything less than honesty on screen, or an amplified version of honesty on screen,
Even
then
with a puppet.
it's a complete and total disservice to anyone who has gone through, will go through, or is currently going through a thing like divorce or loss. Um, and it's just not the way that I perform. It's not the way that I work. So I had to crack open a lot of like little cases of hurt, having been a child of divorce, having gone through loss, having gone through those things. And you have to bubble it up, and you have to bring it alive on the stove again, and you have to live it. And when the scene is done, then you have to make your own reparations. Because if not, if we aren't making reparations, then actors, and tragically it's happened many, many times, that actors, performers, will go out and will try to fill in those cracks of our heart that we just opened up artificially in a scene. So we open them up artificially, and we think, oh my gosh, this just happened. I have these emotions, because it's both emotional and it's physical what's going on. We've been conditioned for that. And you'll go and you'll have a cigarette, or you'll have a drink, or you'll do a snort of this, or in my case, you'll go get an extra piece of chocolate cake. Um, and so you try to fill those cracks in. But that's not the way that the process works. The process works that after the scene is done, you talk yourself down from it. You say, this just happened to that character, not to me. That just happened to that character. And I'm going to make peace with whatever got me there. So in my case, having been a child of divorce and having opened up those wounds again so that they could bleed freely on screen and honestly, I called up my mother, and I said, hey, I was thinking about you today. I just want to thank you for your strength, for getting us through this. And I just wanted you to know that I love you. And that's it. And then take a little bit of time to meditate. If the person isn't around anymore, that you love, or that you hate, or that whatever the case may be, whatever emotion you're trying to tap into, then take that time. And some people like me, I'll sit and I'll pray. Other people will sit and they'll meditate, and they'll just have silent time, and they'll basically reach out cosmically, I guess you could say, to that person and say, hey man, thanks, or I still hate you, I still resent you, but you're not having control over my life right now. um,
It's
I tell
cathartic.
my, yeah, no, totally. And yeah, I tell my kids all the time, especially in LA traffic, man, um,
Oh,
why would I let someone else control me, control my emotions? Why would I let someone else be the puppeteer of who I am and potentially ruin the rest of my day and someone else's life? I get pissed off. I'm pissed off at home. I got to take it out somewhere. Dude, just relax,
yeah.
breathe, let it go, man.
It,
Be
that's what
Teflon, baby.
that's what I used to tell my nieces all the time when they were growing up. There's only two
Yeah,
things in life you can control: your own personal attitude and how you treat other people. Everything else is out of your control. You can't control other
absolutely,
people. And
absolutely.
and I think what you really tapped into something important here, and I think that's why kidding works so well. It is a amalgamation of Mr. Rogers and Jim Henson's, but with more realism of life situations and heart than any of those shows could ever do back then in today's day and age. And I think a lot of what Jim Carrey has been through over the last 10 years actually lends into that performance where I believe everything he's gone through.
Yeah, yeah. We see celebrities as these two-dimensional characters because
Untouchable.
right, or they live in an ivory tower. They have everything handed to them. Look at all the money or resources they have available to them.
We put
But
them
at
on
the
a
end,
pedestal and we
yeah,
forget they're humans.
yeah. At the end of the day, this person puts their head down, probably on a more expensive pillow than my apartment, but they put their head on the same type of pillow, and they have the same type of emotion. The day may have been filled with regret. It may have been filled with accomplishment. It may have been filled you
Self
know,
doubt.
with self-doubt, criticism, all of those things, and us not allowing humans to be human in whatever capacity that it might be, and whatever level of
Male
visibility.
toxicity, shove it
Yeah,
down, don't show emotions as a man, that
right,
crap we were
right.
raised with. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't do anyone any good, and sadly, it distances people from acknowledging the humanity of someone.
absolutely. And like, look, I'm not gonna lie, we found each other on Twitter because you saw my tweet. I have cried every single
Yeah.
episode. I'm kidding. As a 45-year-old man, I admit that proudly. Every episode has reached a bit of my humanity, and I have been like, oh, yep, that's me. Oh, that character's me. Oh, that character. I've been in that situation. I've had friends or families in that situation, and it's that we're not alone. It's that connectivity, and that's
Yeah.
why I think it's such an important show right now, done in such a great way that I was not. I honestly wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I think none of us were. When I got the gig, I was like, cool, I'm going to be a French baguette. Awesome. So I started learning French to play the part, but we can talk about that in a minute. But
Was Jim Carrey already signed on as the lead?
Jim Carrey was signed on as the lead, and it all goes back to Dave. Dave Holstein is, he and I have had lunches together, and time to talk and get to know each other and things like that. And he is a remarkable human being. He is he's not afraid to talk about things that are, um,
Real?
yeah, man. And he brings that to the show because it's that important that people need to accept it. I mean, we can't use superlatives all the time, and I'm not going to get political, but he doesn't use superlatives all the time, saying that everything is fantastic and the world is brilliant and we're 100% on it. No one's 100% anything, man. I mean, we all have, And if we don't have that, then we're not being completely honest.
And you have no balance in life.
One of the things that I believe wholeheartedly is that human connection only happens when they can see your real you, your real face. And so often we walk around our cities, in our neighborhoods, our workplaces, and people will ask you, "Hey man, how you doing?" You're like, "I'm good."
Hmm.
But inside you're a million fractured, broken pieces. And then because we're wearing these weird masks that say, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, no one gets to know the real you. And then you get pissed off and say, why doesn't anybody get me? Because nobody knows you, because
Hmm.
they know the mask that you're putting on, but they don't get to know the real you. Hell, man, take those shattered pieces of your life and make a beautiful stained glass window out of them, and people can see what's going on.
like
And
like like the Chinese art of taking a
yes,
vase, smashing it, and
yes,
then piecing it back together with gold, because you were actually turning something broken into something whole again, but you're making it more beautiful than it originally was in their eyes.
absolutely, yeah. You know what? I could pretend to be sophisticated and know that I knew that before that episode. I had no idea. I was like, why does he have all those lines on his face? Of course, me being me. Oh, what's that? Why does that statue have all those lines all over his face? It's beautiful, but what the hell? And then understanding, oh, because Dave is smarter than me, and perhaps 80% of the people in the room, uh, 85, 87% of the people in the room, then that's why that is. Oh, okay. Thank you. And it's like life guidance without and understanding culture, but from a safe place. It's not condescending. It's simply, hey, this is a thing. Oh, you know that thing. You don't know that thing? Okay, it's okay. You don't know that thing. Here's this thing, and you have a better appreciation of the world. And I sincerely think that uh, that's Dave's mission in life, is to bring these stories, these characters. And I spoke to Catherine Keener once. We had this deep conversation. I said, what we do in the entertainment business, we're the archivists of human emotions, and the relatability of what we do isn't lost. So on days that you're on set and nothing is working, absolutely nothing is working, remember that there's somebody out there who needs to experience that moment and know that there's a way out, that there's hope on the other side of that.
Just
Because
because
no
it
one,
doesn't represent you doesn't mean it doesn't represent somebody.
right, right. And just because craft services isn't serving the kind of chocolate that you want doesn't mean that it's not worth the day that you're there, you know, which has been my situation a couple of times. But
And well, and that's another beauty message from the show as a whole, is like wearing our scars. Our scars are proof that we have been through something, but a scar is something that shows you actually that you healed. You may not
yeah,
have healed perfectly, but you did heal and you did get through that. And so doing puppetry, do you think I don't want to say the word hide, but hiding behind a puppet, but working through a puppet, do you think it
yeah,
allows you to show more of those scars that you wouldn't be able to show as just a normal actor?
yeah. I think so. Well, it's easier to be vulnerable that way, to a certain degree. It's also harder to transmit that to a face that doesn't move. If you notice, all the kids that have been sitting behind me, none of them have blinked, um, and they won't on set. The facial features won't change, but the way that the performance has to come through it does. And so it's that again, that goes back to that honesty, um, and being able to do that. If you've ever put on a puppet, you know how liberating it can be to say stuff that you wouldn't be able to get away with in any other situation.
Well,
Though,
just
because
just straight up, it's the same reason that they use puppets in the 80s to get children to talk about child molestation.
Right, right, absolutely. Um, and that's it's healing and it's weird, man. I mean, I've put on a puppet in front of presidents of Fortune 500 companies who then turn into 8-year-old kids. And I could be wearing like neon LED clothing just flashing in your face, and if I'm doing my job right, I disappear into the background and they're making eye contact, with any one of the critters that I'm putting on. And it allows the inner child to connect with something that's different. And I did a talk at Walt Disney Feature Animation to the Frozen 2 crew, and they're these legends of animation. And I studied animation when I was in college, and I found out that I was an incompetent animator, but I understand the process. I'm a pretty good illustrator, but
Animation's
animator,
different. Yeah, it's a whole nother.
yeah, it's a completely different thing. And I'm in there talking to these guys, and I said, dare I say that my craft is in many ways cooler than yours? And they kind of sat back, sort of like, okay, we're going to start a rumble.
Yeah,
Where
right.
are we putting the body? And I said, because when you're done, what's left is what you left on the page. When I'm done, I can interact with anyone
Anytime.
and bring that moment to life instantaneously.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference. We're both breathing life into something. We're both skillful at our crafts, but I have the ability to riff on the spot and bring that to life.
Yeah, which is true because, like, I do a lot of conventions, and so when you see the puppeteers at conventions, uh, there's nothing cooler than watching children at a convention, and then, like, because sometimes they know what's going on, sometimes they don't. With
Yeah,
actors, they're like, oh, it's an actor, they play my blah 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 blah. But there's
right.
nothing better than watching a puppeteer pull out the puppet and start doing it and doing the voice, and watching kids go and just
Yeah,
realize what they're seeing, that this puppet is controlled by a human being. And the same when they meet voiceover actors, like my friend Dino Andrade. I love going to his table and just whatever, because he does so many different voices that,
yeah,
like, he'll
yeah,
just
yeah.
start running through the voices and jumping from voice to voice and watching these kids, just their brains are melting right in front of your eyes. It's the best experience. I love watching kids
Yeah.
at cons. Like, what's your favorite, like, con story or like kid story with puppeteering? And
Oh man. You know what? What I love to do is I'll put on a critter, and I won't hide, because most of our job is to become invisible, right?
right.
Because it focuses on the character himself or herself. And one of my favorite things to do is to do it out in public, uh, and then put a fresh puppet, because you don't want to put a nasty ass, because hands sweat. So you don't want to put a nasty ass puppet on a kid and then traumatize them for life. Uh, but but you put a fresh puppet on a kid or an adult, and they understand, oh, this is tangible. This isn't ethereal. It's not a dream. It's not a whatever. It becomes real. And so us being able to reach out to people, like via Twitter, uh, which I just recently, I mean, I've been on Twitter forever, but I recently just started using it because
I
kidding, and I
haven't
was like, oh,
I haven't used mine in years. So, like, the
yeah.
fact that I just got out there this week and found you was like crazy.
The idea that you can send a message and then someone replies saying, "Oh, thank you so much for the kind words." It like it's like it's just a glimpse of reality, you know. And for me, it may take 20 seconds to do that, but the person on the other end, they're freaking out because I got to sing with, or I got to work with, or I'm shrapnel to their favorite celebrity.
Right.
and that's or they fell in love, or they engaged with something that one of my critters did, and that is super gratifying. And I think that's what we're called to do. We're kind of called to be kind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just simple. It's a simple act of kindness that can change a person's life.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
think about the things we encountered when we were kids. um, a kind word may have sent you on a beautiful career path. uh, Someone saying, hey, you know you're really good at that, why don't you, and it makes you work even harder. It feeds those fires, it puts coal in your engine, right? I'm sorry, I really should. It uncovers your solar panels and lets you absorb the power.
Don't confuse the
But
kids.
yeah. I got to stay green, buddy. Um, but there are other situations that shunning or a harsh word will send a person down an equally powerful path.
It's the absolute the old saying, and there's nothing more true than this saying, that people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for me, I don't ever ever want to be the catalyst for something negative in someone's life, and I'll do my damnedest to be as kind and as engaging and as attentive. I guess that's a good word,
Being
as
present, yeah.
possible. Yeah, to what they're saying and what their situation is. When someone says, "I'm okay," well, let's make that better. How,
Yeah.
talk to me. I'm not going to judge you.
When your girlfriend says, I'm fine, she ain't fine.
Yeah, yeah. I've been married 25 years now. I didn't. I put on my ring only when I'm going out and about because she knows I'm here. Um, but uh, but yeah, 25 years of understanding,
Understanding is a good word, yeah.
and compromise to a degree. But you start off with good people, man, and that works. That really works.
Well, as humans, we all have the same drive. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be heard. We want to be listened to. We want to be understood by somebody.
Yeah.
And, whether that's a family member, a best friend, or a wife, that's something we all need, is that connectivity.
Yeah, I must throw in the caveat that we were married. She was 6 and I was 7 at the time, just because Hollywood always looks down on the age. So yeah, 25 years, but we were married way early on. Way early on. I'm pretty sure that's what
Well, then,
it was.
speaking of early on, how did you
Yeah.
get into puppeteering, and how did you meet Jim Henson? When did you start working with him? And let's talk about the excitement of like the Henson Company, and like, come on, that's the cream of the crop. Who doesn't want to be a part of any of that?
Yeah. So the easiest way to get into puppeteering uh, is you start from the back and you work your way forward, just like anything else. Yeah. Um, so with me, I had been on stage, and just to I don't
You didn't start
just to
out with puppetry.
just to clarify, I never met Jim. I never met Jim. Um, I did and do work with his son Brian, with his daughter Lisa. Occasionally, I'll see Heather and Cheryl, um, but uh, but yeah, my involvement with the Hensons was was later in my career,
Well, yeah, you're not,
because
because you're not old enough to have been of that generation.
because I was married at 7. Yeah, absolutely. But I had worked forever on in children's theater, because again, the seeds of those kids, if oh man, being able to tell a little mind that, or just whisper, hey, you don't have to punch him in the face. Everything on TV at the time was, and I love Power Rangers, and I love Han Saban and what he accomplished. Um, but punching things in the face uh, isn't always the way to get things done. And so in many of my shows, my antagonist, not a villain, but an antagonist, always had a chance for redemption.
Hmm.
So there was, and to fix and make things right on the other end, because we all screw up, and it's important for kids to know that we all make mistakes. So I'd been doing a stage for a long time, so there were certain characters that couldn't be embodied by a person, and so I needed to build a puppet. So pick up a couple of books on puppetry, and you build as best you can, and you always go the wrong way, and the thing, you always think it's gonna look like this, and then all of a sudden, I'm puppet, and it's not anything close to what you had in mind, right?
Yeah, well,
Um,
the key to success is lots of failure.
oh gosh, yeah, and plenty of scars. So if not, you're not doing anything. You're vicariously living through someone else. Never live in what if. Never live in what if.
Well,
So yeah, I was in stage for a long time, and then I injured my back. I screwed up my back on stage doing a thing, because I'm an all-in kind of person, and it happened. But so then I ended up gaining like 100 and whatever pounds. I ate a small village, and I did a bunch of things. Ended up getting into production, because production, it's you're first in, last out, and first to roll on the new project, and you're always creating, you're always building, you're always making.
yeah, you get to
And
see all of
so
the action from start to finish. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love
So I was
production. It's so much fun.
I was I was fortunate enough to I got into town about 12 years ago, and my first gig in town was working as a coordinator for Disney feature animation, and then I moved over to Nickelodeon and worked on a couple of shows there, and then went back to Disney on the internet side, so the web and all of that. So we created content, we curated content, we built a bunch of really cool things, and then a Facebook announcement came up, and this is fairly recent. It was about I left Disney about 4 years ago. So all of this stuff that's happened, and the stuff that you see on my IMDb, has happened in 4 years. So it's crazy.
Things
Um,
move fast when you're not working for the mouse anymore.
it was weird. So this Facebook post comes up. A friend of mine forwards it. She says, "Hey, you do all those stupid voices. Why don't you look into this?" And I said, "No, no, no. That performances in the past. That's a whole nother world." But it's one of those voices that whispers in your ear when you're about to go to sleep, and so it basically whispers, don't do, don't, you can't, it's not possible. And then the other side of you is like, screw that guy,
Yeah,
screw that guy. I can,
don't you tell
yeah.
me what to do.
Don't you tell me that I need a steady job and and benefits and access to Disneyland. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, if you like health insurance and making a lot
Yeah.
of money, don't get into entertainment.
Don't do that. God. Do I have tracks of plasma from donation selling? Sorry, it's not donation. But so I borrowed a puppet and borrowed a camera, and myself, along with almost 600 other people, sent in submissions. And I'd written a bunch of jokes. It was a character. I basically did like 12 characters in a minute or something like that, to show them range and to show them whatever, and how bad my puppetry actually was on camera. It's horrible, horrible. I ran across that video a couple of months ago, and I was like, "Oh, let's see what this is." Oh my, oh no, that's no one should have to watch
Hey,
that. And
I got interviews on here from 10 years ago.
yeah,
Most famously, I interviewed William Atherton.
oh wow,
Not one of my best interviews. I was green. I didn't know what I was doing.
how
And
was he?
he was a delight and put up with me. I'm so glad he put up with me at Phoenix Comic Con. But like even in the comments, like someone's like, "Who is this fat nobody interviewing William Atherton? And why won't he let him get a word in edgewise?"
Oh no, oh no.
So now I try to let you guys do most of the talking.
Yeah, I have a tendency to talk a lot. I'm sorry to any of your viewers, and they're watching it in double time. It's like I do most of the talking. I'm
They ain't here for me. Go through the comment section. Trust me, they ain't here for me.
sorry. Oh no. Uh, so I end up going to this audition, and I go to they pulled 105 of us into this audition thing, and it was like a 2-hour audition. First hour was
That's
puppetry
crazy.
puppetry 101. So on the it's on the Henson lot, which is like driving into the Wonka factory, right? And then
Awesome.
they said, okay, so there are going to be groups of 5 of you, and so they had little buckets of 5 of us, and they pull us into the Charlie Chaplin soundstage because
Oh,
that used to be Chaplin's old studio, and his footprints are there and all of that. We walk in,
awesome.
and there are like tables full of puppets, and 2 very very beautifully skilled puppeteers, Donna Kimball and Drew Massey, are there. And they said, okay guys, we're going to walk you through the basics of puppetry, so we're all on the same page and blah blah blah. And so they walk us through this. They said, okay, so about 40 minutes of it, if that. And then we walk outside, and we're just standing there, sitting there. And they said, you'll be doing scenes. Most of it will be improv, and it'll be cool. Awesome. So we start going in one by one, and people are going in. They're going in for 15, 20 minutes, and then they called me and said, Dan, we're ready for you. Okay, so I go over. Door opens up, and who greets me? Frickin' Brian Henson.
Oh,
Oh,
good
hey
Lord.
Dan, how are you? Nice to meet you. Oh my gosh. Oh,
No
uh,
pressure.
yeah. Who is also going to be my scene partner for this audition? And sitting in the front row is Alan Troutman, who's been doing this forever. If you look through his list of credits, has been going on and on forever. Uh, Patrick Bristow, who also has been in everything. Donna and Drew are sitting in the back. There are a couple other people who I didn't recognize at the time. And then, of course, front and center is Kevin Clash, who is famous for Elmo. And he is and has become a very good friend. He's a great guy. I love Kevin, and will consistently stand by him. But actually, before your call, I was on the phone with him. He's a lovely man, and he loves my wife more than he loves me, apparently, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But
She sounds amazing.
she's pretty great, man. I can't say enough good things about her. But
So basically, you walk into this audition with the Al Pacinos and the best actors of puppetry out there.
yeah, absolutely. All knuckleheads because the knuckles in the head. Anyway.
I love
A
a good
room,
pun.
yeah, a room full of absolute consummate professionals in what they do. Um, and I do what I feel is a horrible job. I give them range, I give them character, I give them emotion, but I'm looking up and watching what Brian is doing live, which is a major no-no. There's no looking live, that's what we call it, unless you're passing something over to another character or you're trying to make physical contact with something. Then it's acceptable. But my audition lasted about 7 minutes, and they said, "Thank you so much. We'll be in touch." And I said, "Look,
And
it's like,
and for those of you out there that don't know and have never done an audition, a short audition is either really good or really bad.
yeah, yeah." And for my money, I was betting on the horse named Glue. So so I was surprised when I got a phone call later on saying, "Hey, we've chosen 30 people to come in and train." That word did not come out of my mouth right. Um, we've chosen 30 people to come out and train with us. Keep your day job. We'll feed you. We'll teach you. It'll be at night, etc. And they did for in my case, it was about 3 months worth of training, and it was fantastic. Uh,
That's really cool that they do it that way though, because like, look, not everybody's gonna make it. Don't quit your day job. That's smart.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so at the end of it, we did these basically like an audition tape, They said, we'll keep it on file. And if producers and directors come in and they're looking for additional talent, they can look through your files. And I was like, right, yeah, okay. I'm going to go back home and cry about this. Never having, never setting foot in that studio again. It's been real fun. I'm going to take a washer that I found on the ground as a souvenir. And so, and I have consistently, my refrigerator is full of washers, by the way. From every production that I've ever been on, I find a washer somewhere. I hope it doesn't, mean something fell down, but a washer, and I put the date and the production on. Anyway,
there's gaffers out there right now going, "That's where my damn washer went.
That's where my freaking washer is, Garza." And so they about 4 weeks later, they called and had me audition for this thing, and I was like, "Wow, that's weird." And they said,
"What was it?"
Well, it's a PBS kids show called Splash and Bubbles, and it looks like cartoons, but it's all digital puppets.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it's really, really interesting because you're working and moving these characters the way you normally would, but each finger is a different syllable or consonant, and your thumb is a different thing, and the way that you move it around there, it's like playing one of those big pipe organs, like at a church or a carnival or whatever, and you have the ancillary things with like tambourines and the hi-hat going, and this guy is controlling everything. But we're shooting the show in real time, and for each puppeteer, it's like for each puppet, that's two puppeteers. So one that does face, head, and expressions and dialogue, and the other one that does the body of the fish. So it swims and it goes through, and so you're in this giant virtual reality sort of environment that you can real time see around you projected, all of these things. So I get pulled in on this, and I have to quit Disney because it's a 6-month shoot. And so I said, okay, we're going to join the circus now. And my wife was on board.
No risk, no reward.
Exactly. And so that led to another gig, which led to another gig, which led to a bunch of like nothing for a long time. And then it led to an opportunity with Kidding, which was great. And again, not having known what it was surprising the first day that we were there. And I knew that Jim was on it. And I only call him Jim because he told me to. When I talk to people, they're like, oh, look at that. This is Jim Carrey. You can call me Jim. Well, he did. I was on set, and it was like a classic 80s movie where the ugly duckling is standing at the dance, and the most handsome guy is across the dance floor, and he saw me with ennui, and he made his way through all of the production folks, and it was like, yeah, and he comes over, it was very laser targeted, and he said, hey, I'm Jim. And I said, nice to meet you, Jim. I'm Dan. He's like, so, welcome. Very gracious, very human, just a beautiful guy. I look forward to working with you on this. And it's like, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. And then he went to go focus on his stuff. And I sat there going, oh my gosh, I just turned into Molly Ringwald. That was awesome. So yeah, it was pretty great. And being able to get to know him and work through all of the subject matter that we did, and it was cool. Really, it's a beautiful show,
It really
crafted
is. Yeah.
by beautiful, creative people, and I am so proud to be a part of it. Meeting Michelle was amazing, and I had to learn. I decided I didn't have to, but I'm a method actor by trade, and so every role that I learned to do, in this case it wasn't a role, it was a baguette. Another pun, sorry. but playing the French baguette.
I love food puns too. So you're,
I must be hungry if
you
I'm
are hitting
thinking
me
that
on
way.
all cylinders right now. And I'm about to go eat right after this podcast with you too, because I barely fed the kids, threw the one down for a nap, and started this.
No. Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate that.
No, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to get it right. And so I watched about 6 hours of interviews, both in English and in French. And I didn't know French at the time. I still basically know a little French now. Uh, but I watched, and I was watching Michel and his cadence and his interaction and his pauses. And Michel does some really, really great pauses, which are, with us, and your people will see this and they'll probably count how many ums I've done. But with him, it's that's
Oh,
Michel. That's his motor running.
right.
That's the
His
that's the
idol.
yeah, that's his idol, right? And so he'll be talking to you and he'll say that, right? And I wanted to get it right. So I started not only studying Michel, but I was on like 5 language apps for 3 hours a day learning French. Learning French. How does the French tongue work with American words? How would it interpret this, and how would it say that, and what sort of cadence and rhythm have? So I had to get into that point. So day one,
When do they insert French words into their English?
right, exactly. When is it appropriate? We were on set, and the script said Mr. Pickles, and I said Ennui would never say that. Ennui would say Mr. Pickles because that is what he does.
Yeah.
And so that was my little contribution
Just hearing you
to.
say that right now in my headphones just got me all kinds of giddy.
Well, what's funny is that we're standing there in this little circle, right? And we're trying to figure out, is Jim originally thought it would be a good idea to have Michel do the voice of Ennui, because it was basically based on him, right? And I was all for it. So we're standing in this little circle. It's Dave, Jim, Michel, Ennui, and then myself. Ennui has his hand on Michel's shoulder, and everything that Michel is saying, I'm syncing up, so they can see what it looks like coming out of Ennui's mouth. And Michel is like, Jim, I am flat. I am not good with, to acting. Uh, and Jim is like, no, man, I'd really love for you to do it, and blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, let us see what Dan can do. Let us see. Give him a chance. We saw him, and we're like, okay, cool. So no pressure now. Now Jim wants him to do the voice, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then fortunately, they liked what they heard, including Jim, which is great, and Dave and Michel, and I got the thumbs up, and so I cranked it up to 11, man, and that's that. I haven't looked back. I mean, it's been really great to develop him honestly and sincerely, and then put in all the work afterwards or beforehand. That it really pays off afterwards.
Yeah. What would you say is probably the most rewarding aspect of working on kidding?
It's it's knowing that people are healing. That, I think, for me, is the most rewarding aspect. The experience is there, and no one's ever going to take that. The time with these beautiful people will never leave my memory. But knowing that that now the show is out there and it's doing some good, especially in times when people are figuratively and literally isolated, is huge, man. And I wish there were a way that people could see it um, for free. Sorry, Showtime. The checks are good, man, but
No, I know what you're saying. It's important, and
it's important.
And that healing factor, like, look, I've had a messed up year, and the last few months have just been not good for me.
Yeah.
Physically for one, but mentally a whole nother thing. And like, I made the decision like last week, I'm like, I need something for my mental health that's going to be a little more, that's going to be on the entertaining side, but not just
Yeah.
mentally numbing. That's, I have one rule in entertainment: entertain me first. You
Yeah.
have to entertain me. I can look past plot holes and bad script writing as long as
Right.
I'm entertained. But I needed something that was both going to entertain me and give me some good, healthy cries and give me a mental health break that I desperately needed. And it kind of
Yeah.
helped. It helped get me back on the right track and feeling better for
Oh,
sure.
that's wonderful.
So what do you do for your own mental health?
I love to spend time with my family, but I take out time for me. My identity as a human is not a puppeteer, is not a voiceover guy, they're not the skills that I've developed over time. My identity is I'm Dan, and I am the sum of my scars. And I'm the guy that that I know how resilient I am now, but it took all of the screwed up things to get there. I had to learn to walk again, man. I like literally 10 years ago, my back ruptured. Like one of the discs that I had screwed up way back in theater had ruptured, and I had to have an emergency discectomy, and I was bedridden initially for like 6 weeks, and then there was 6 weeks of recovery after that, and I had to learn to walk again, and that strengthened my relationship with my wife and my family, and they did things here because again I couldn't leave my bed that were humbling, and you find out who really cares about you, who really loves you.
Ain't that the
Um,
truth?
yeah, and so
I say all the
my
time, the more you keep people in your lives, the longer people in your lives, the better opportunity they have to show you their true colors, whether those are good or not.
yeah
And I've said that for forever, but now that I've been dealing with my own health issues and it's just gotten worse over the last year, and like everything's just declining, it's taught me even more life lessons about people. Because like you said, man, when you're going through extreme difficulties in life, especially health difficulties, you really find out who your friends are and who the best of your family is.
absolutely, and so my identity is I'm a human on earth who's supposed to do some good. That's it. And when it boils down to, that's all that, whether it's a kind word or an invisible gesture. You're walking out of the restaurant and you decide to pay for that, or pay for the person behind you, or whatever it is. I mean, that's just do something cool for somebody, man. That's my purpose. That's what we're here to do. And I'm not here to fight with anybody. I'm not here to get into verbal altercations or screw with somebody's ego or whatever. And if that's your world, and if that's what drives you, and you need drama to survive, good for you, man. But I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna contribute to your disintegration.
Yeah, no, hey, and I agree, and I do my best not to let the trolls on social media
Yeah.
drag me down into those, but sometimes I just can't help it. Like,
Yeah.
I believe in putting up a fight for the good fight for the right reasons, always as a last resort, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. But yeah. So I don't know.
But yeah, human first. You're not a
Human first,
puppeteer.
buddy.
You're out there living. Well then, all right then. Let's wrap this baby up with a few of my favorite questions that I forgot to ask a few people in a few podcasts, but
Okay.
I'm getting back to this. This was my thing 10 years ago, and I just totally got off it, and I forgot how much I love these questions. All right, here we go.
I will try to be succinct.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Ah, it's gotta be. I love Moon Knight. No
Ooh,
one knows who Moon Knight is,
you don't
but
hear that very often.
I love
Why?
Moon Knight.
Why?
because he was a dude that was doing his thing, and then ran across some wacky pyramid crap, and oh no, take that back. It's got to be Ragman. Oh, dude,
Ooh.
nobody knows Ragman. And it's
Wait,
not because I'm not saying that because nobody
no,
knows.
yeah. I'm trying to remember what universe Ragman's from, though.
I want to say he's DC. I think so. So
I
the
think.
son of a junkyard guy. His dad, oh, if I remember right, oh, his dad they were trying to shake him down, the mob, and they electrocute him and his friends. And this guy sews a costume together, and he goes out as a vigilante at night. But his costume is made of rags, so because he comes from a junkyard, of course. And he goes and he fights crime, and he saves girls and blind kids. I think there was an episode with a little blind kid. Yeah.
Did they make a movie out of that in the 80s?
I don't know. But
I feel like
yeah,
they did, and it didn't do well. Like it
yeah.
had Adam Baldwin in it
Moon
or
Knight's
something.
cool. Moon Knight's cool, but Ragman is where it's at. Yeah.
Ragman, interesting. That no one's ever said that before. And your good guys are only as good as bad as your bad guys are. So, who's your favorite villain?
I have to go with. I love Kingpin, just because I can identify with Kingpin. His size, his anger, his rage. Oh, there's sometimes, man, you get rageful. Like you see season 1 of Kidding, and you're like, I could totally relate to destroying that bird box or that birdhouse, or I can totally relate to like, doing something terrible and then regretting it. It's the imperfection of that, but the sheer design and scale of him is just great, and it doesn't hurt that he's got a shaved bald head. It's good.
And
Not enough of
that dope white suit, like he just looks aesthetically cool.
Yeah, the man is a wall. He is a wall. He's not a door. I don't know what kind of vehicles fit a man like that, but he's always coming in and out of those. Yeah.
And how great was D'Onofrio?
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, how great was he?
He was great. A couple of points, the voice kind of felt a little pushed, and I think you could have eased back on it, and I still would have understood him. But overall, it was a great. His rage, his fury. I loved it.
I think what I really loved about what he brought to the character was the subtle rage. Like it was almost like he would get overly emotional every time he would rage out and almost get a tear to his eye because he didn't want to get that pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's something, which is something I can relate to because I hate fighting. And if I'm about to beat the crap out of someone, you're going to see a tear in my eye first.
You know who does that is Brad Dourif.
Who's that?
Brad Dourif was Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings. He's the voice of Chucky. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And one of my favorite roles he ever played was he was the demonic possession of Damien Karras. Was it Damien Karras in Exorcist 3? There's a dialogue between him and George C. Scott. If you haven't seen the movie, watch that clip on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
I'll look it up. It's been a while since I've seen it. I'll look it up.
Oh man, pretty much anytime he's full throttle, he's just tears are coming down his face just in that angst. It's so good. Oh, I love Brad so much. I want to meet him someday just so I can bottle his tears. I don't know. It's good. It's good.
That was respectful, not creepy. And who's your real life hero? Who inspires you?
It's got to be my mom. Yeah, my mother's amazing. She's an amazing woman. Always been there. Always, she was like, and for her, it was like a promise made is a promise kept. And every time she tucked me in at night, it was do your best and God will do the rest. And I've lived my life with that. My motto on my wallet, it says leave it to heaven, but work like hell. Her work ethic. as a single mother for a long time, for about 9
I
years of
was
my
gonna
life.
guess. I was gonna guess single mother.
Yeah, yeah. The woman is fierce. When she retired from civil service, um, she had like her rank was that of a lieutenant colonel. So the woman is applied. She means business, but she makes a mean set of cookies. So she's the full package, man. She is she is and has always been my role model. Yeah.
Completely get that. My mom's a widow, and she had to be my mom and my dad and be my everything. And switched over to selling insurance in the '80s when it was a guy's game,
Yeah.
and she had no chance of ever being a success. But no, she blew all them away and was the top of the sales for Aflac for years, and took me to all kinds of great Aflac conventions in Hawaii and all over the country. So like, yay, love. So I'm right there with you. Like, respect the women of the world and how hard.
Respect to fierce women, man.
Yeah, they're goddesses and how hard they work, and
Yeah,
they're the ones bringing us on this planet.
totally.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you on social media? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I have my website is dangarzacreative.com. I'm on Instagram at OUTTAPEZ, out of Pez, because I used to collect Pez dispensers. And then my art is the same, OUTTAPEZ_art. And then I'm on Twitter. I've found Twitter. That's how we found each other. And there you can either look for me by Dan Garza, and it's me and Ennui, or at Arapez on Twitter.
Excellent. So make sure you follow him on all his social media. Hit up your local convention and tell them to bring on Dan Garza as a guest, so that way you can meet him and Ennui and get both their autographs. And if you're not already watching Kidding on Showtime, you need to tune in. Second season is halfway through right now. It's absolutely amazing. I'm so happy I found this show, and I couldn't be more honored to have you as a guest on Down the Road Show.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Hashtag renew Kidding. We're looking forward to a third season. I know Dave has all kinds of great ideas and places that these characters need to go. And there's a lot of healing to do. So that's good.
And it just might help some of you at home heal like it has for me over the last week. I know it has helped me immensely with my own personal mental health. So thank you, everybody at Showtime and Kidding, and Jim for being this selfless humanitarian and giving of yourself into this show. It really is heartfelt. So, all right, Dan, well, hopefully we'll have you on the show another time and get to meet up in person soon.
Hooray!
All right, buddy, and we'll see you
Safe,
somewhere. We'll see you somewhere down the road.
Sounds great. Bye.